Now this diorama is actually built based on the big jump that happened in 1978 out Indian Dunes in California, also doubled as a Styxs River, on the hit TV show Dukes of Hazzard. Now this diorama here is a foot wide by 4 feet long. Now the Revo Charger that I used was actually one of the park cars that I actually had up on the shelf. It says it was actually in pieces at the time, and I needed a car to stand in for the one that I purchased at our local hobby shop. I took my time at building this diorama. Now what you just seen was actually the car that was actually purchased. Now the decals that you're seeing here is not none of ours by no means. Those decals are actually made by a friend of ours. I won't say who they are, but last I knew, the guy did not make the decals no more, as I understand. But the decal is actually 100% TV accurate to what they use on the show. And it was actually very nice decals to use when you built generally models, like in those days. And nowadays too. Now, like I said, this diorama is actually based on the real event that took place back in 1978. When I built this, now, there was a lot of studying going on with the scene, and how the car actually launched off the embankment during the jump. Now, the thing is, the real location back then was actually used in quite a few TV shows and movies of its time. One of the shows that was actually in the Twilight Zone, one of the episodes, where there was a very, very bad accident that took place. Now the thing is, the place where the generally did the jump at, the Indian Dunes, the Red River is actually known as the Santa Clara River. But in Hazard County, the fictional Hazard County, it's known as Styxs River. The location is actually privately owned today. And I do not endorse nobody to trespass on the property. See, it looks like nowadays. Please do not trespass by no means. Please do not. The river is actually not what it looks like today, like it did back in 1978. You see, over the years, the water has gone down, and at some points in time, the riverbank has actually been flooded, washed away, and the area has actually been leveled up quite a bit. The jump itself was a pretty massive one of its time for the front driver that did the jump. And I'll get to that later on here in this clip. You see, the Santa Clara River is actually just west of Santa Clara, California. It's very easy to find. The thing is, in the same area, just east of it, is where they did the movie called The Lost Boys. If you go west of Santa Clara, you can actually find Indian Dunes Park. Now, the thing is, a lot of people, there's a lot of commentary on the internet nowadays of the jump and location, and there's pictures and stuff out there. People are saying it's not the right place. Well, one of those pictures is actually at the right location. Now here is the diorama when it first started out being built. It's a foot wide by 4 feet long. Now, the rock formation that you see, that's actually up there in the right-hand side upper screen piece on your screen, right here we're seeing, that is actually made out of foam board on a piece of LeWan. The base of the diorama is actually a 1 foot by 4 foot LeWan piece with some other strips nailed together on the sides of the border. Now, the dirt you're seeing right here is not trained dirt, not model dirt, it's actually real earth soil. When I was doing this, when PIP was actually building this diorama it was the first time that Pepe has ever done a diorama of this big sizes, of this massive sizes. And most times it was only like a foot wide and stuff. But when Pepe did this diorama right here, a lot of screen caps was taken of the big river jump, which also was the last episode of Dukes of Hazzard Season 1, Double Sting. That was the very episode where the first jelly jump over Styxs River actually occurred in. Now here you can see the parts lead 1 that I was using, that Pepe was actually using for the marker pieces to get the embankment this right. Now you see, if you look at the scene on the Dukes, look at the big river jump, you will see the rock formation right here. All the rock formation that was actually in the episode was also, Pepe even also dubbed into the diorama here. Now, this here is explaining what the base was actually known as plaster wood, plaster, styrofoam, and spray glue by Loctite. And like I said, real dirt was actually used for the dirt on it. The river bend was actually plaster and styrofoam underneath right here, as you see. Now, when Pepe did the water effect, literally the very first time that Pepe has actually ever done water effects. Now, the stuff you see right here was actually real dirt, and actually train trees was actually scale trees was actually purchased for building up this piece right here. But as for the Styxs was not actually plastic, it was actually real sticks that was actually picked up around the premises, and actually the right sizes was actually used, and the screen cap was used to see where the Styxs was actually placed in the episode as well. But in the real episode, the real location though, there were trees and Styxs laying all around the side of the embankment. If you watch the episode, you can see that there's little tree pieces on one side. Again, here you can see the tree pieces in the same spots. Just like it was actually in real life, real Mother Nature, back in 79. Excuse me, 78. Because the episode aired in 79. Now, when doing this right here, it took a long time, a couple weeks to build this. And I'll tell you right now, it was actually real fun to actually build this diorama. Now, the water, as I was saying earlier, the water was actually done in a unique way. First, when you look in the water, you see ripples. Now, I know you see brownness. Well, as you've seen before, soil was actually glued to the base of the bottom. And on top of that was actually 2-ply paper towel like sprayed down over top of that, and then the dirt was applied actually over that, sprayed down as well with super glue, with Loctite spray, excuse me. Now, when it came time to do the water was actually done with fiberglass resin and clear transparent silicone that you can buy at any hardware or any general dollar store that you have in your vicinity. Even local Walmart store carry as well. When the silicone was actually applied over the resin, it was actually brushed on, and it was cured for a couple of days. The thing is, when you use resin, you gotta make sure it cures. And then when you use clear silicone, you got easy apply like I did right here with a paintbrush. Like I said, I left it for a few days to cure. And like I said before, the Styxs was actually all real Styxs that I was using on this diorama. Now, as for the road jump, though, getting back to that, the road jump was done late in the day out of Indian dunes. And from my understanding, the sun was actually going down. And they had one chance at actually getting the shot done. And as I understand it, they had to hurry up and get the shot actually taken care of. But now, if you look at the scene on the episode, You see, the jelly does the jump over Santa Clara. On the bottom of the water area, you see that on the screen that there is actually an area bulldoze. Clear spot. That was actually where the car was actually supposed to land at, but it didn't. Now here is the Revo Charger that was actually purchased and was being built for the diorama here. It's a 1969 Dodge Charger made by Revo. I would say the Revo kit is actually a pretty accurate one with a lot of detail in it if you're building a straight stock car version of the second-gen Chargers. But if you're going to build a general model, I highly suggest using the Revo 69 Dodge Charger. Now, some stuff you see here, right here, is actually not in the kit, like the ship area. That was actually scratch built by PIP. Now, up right here, there's one cap button that is actually missing there. Now, the one cap button was actually removed by PIP to make it look more accurate with what the car should. You see, a stunt car is almost like a demo car, but the difference is everything inside the car is all stripped out, no wiring, no nothing. It has no interior by no means either, and also has a roll cage for us, depending on what kind of stunt it's doing. Now here, as you can see, looking at the steering wheel, you can see the horn button's gone, and the headrest is not on the seat. Now the thing is, on the show, the cars did actually have headrests, but the crew members actually removed the headrests for the Chargers so they can get in and out of the windows easier. But up to this here though, in reality, the doors on the Chargers that was never allowed to shut, people. Sorry about your luck. The doors on the Duke's cars and the Jelly was never allowed to shut. They were actually openable. In the storyline, they was allowed to shut, but in reality, it was never allowed to shut, really. Unless the stunt card for a hard jump or something, where most times, sometimes, I heard that they did actually allow the door shut, if they thought it was too dangerous. Now, the relocation that ran up to the jump. Now, in the later season 5 of Coy and Vance. Now, a lot of people don't like that season due to the fact that they call it the clones. Well, season 5 actually had a lot of good stunts and dramatic jumps in it from both the Jelly, the squad cars, and stuff like that. But the thing is, the jump was there's actually a scene in season 5 that shows Coy and Vance taking off from the airport. Well, that one back where the Jelly flies down, it takes off camera and then they cut. That very road there actually led to a 6-river jump. And if you would have pan around, you would have saw the tree line. And that tree line was actually the Styxs River, the Santa Clara River. It was that close to that airport place. Now here is the car right here. The car that was actually purchased at the local hobby shop, and it was actually built for the diorama. Now, the push bar, the CV antenna, is what PIP makes. I'll say it again. The push bar, the CV antenna, the CV unit inside, and also the other tires and rims, one piece, is what PIP makes. The decals is not ours. And I repeat again, the decals is not ours. Now, the orange that was actually used on this car right here, if I'm right, it was actually red orange, because we use different oranges all the time for the builds when we build them. But if I'm right, it was actually red orange. And again, those decals right there was actually made by a friend back in the day, and I'm not sure if he's still mixing today or not, so I won't say his name by no means. That's not no respect for the group. I all respect. But I don't want to get him further emails about decals in case he doesn't make them. But the decals, as you can see right here, they were actually TV screen accurate. And when PIP used the decals, they actually made the scale cars actually pop and come to life. That's how nice they were. And they work from all clear coats, pressing future shine, claiming clear coat. They work from. Now here's one of the decals that was actually a license plate. Which was actually a nice touch to the build, I might add. As for the trim that you're looking at, the trim was actually aluminum foil sprayed with glue and then easily applied to the trim on the model. The camera tape was actually just masking tape. It was actually all it was, just glued onto the car. And by the way, Tim, the decals was nice. Thank you. We actually enjoyed using those decals. Now the red jump actually took place in 1979. But the thing is, there was actually 2 jelly jumps that was actually done in Indian Dunes. And both cars, both cars actually went a similar way. The thing is, in one episode, where Luke's friend from the Marines comes in to look for that stolen loot, and they gotta build a ramp up to jump the jelly into the area. That would be the other jump that was actually done in Indian Dunes as well. Now on the internet, now there is actually a picture of a charger of a jelly. Now the face of it is all smashed up. And I mean by face, I mean the front end. It's a very, the bumper is actually above the roofline area. And everybody says that's the Indian Dunes big giant Styxs river jump across the big river. Sorry folks, that's not the jump car. That's the second jump car to the one that was done in the second episode. That is how hard the jelly smacked around. If you pause it and go real slow motion on the jump, when looking at the looking at generally, we all know that it's actually a stuntman in the general and not the actors themselves. But when you watch it generally come down and hit, you can tell it's on the same side. And you can see the car pulling very lightly. Now here is actually the map. Now, certain thing was blocked out for reasons, okay? Now, you can see the Santa Clara River right there, the name of it. Now, what you're looking at is actually down at the jump location of the Styxs River. Now, the food you're seeing was not there back in the day. It was actually woodline. The woodline is sunlight. If you look at the left side of your screen right here, you'll see the line. That's where the road went up the cliff at. Where, in the runway where Daisy run her car to the boys, and the boys, ran off the cliff. That was right there, just above the Santa Clara River jump. There's quite a few other scenes on the episodes of the Dukes that actually, if you knew the location, like when Critters rescuing the jelly from the clashes of Roscoe Pico train and Boss Hog, and when Roscoe pushed the charger down the hill, and Critters come up and he sees the charger going by itself, he sees the general, and he says, "Hang on, General, I'm coming." Now, he's overhanging the cliffside looking down. He's actually looking down at the Santa Clara River itself, again, at the jump site. Now, really, what you're looking at here is actually the information of the river itself, of the jump itself. Yes, people, the jump was 300 feet across. The takeoff was right there. And now, if you look, I said the river landing zone, planted at, you'll see a little mark there. Now, if you look at where the blue's at, that's how far the stunt driver actually wants the car and making to land the car at. Now you can see there's a big difference in the original location of landing. The thing is, when you look at the map here, you notice that when you come down the hill, in the episode, if you watch the charger as it comes down, you see the rear end of the car kick out a little bit because the stunt driver was actually going, as I understand, over 70 miles per hour when he actually inclined the ramp, the embankment of the riverbank. And as far as I understand it, if I'm right, and if I heard right, the stunt driver was Gary Baxley, the boss Hog's chauffeur in the earlier episodes. Gary, I guess, was actually, as I understand, was actually the guy behind the wheel piloting the car across the Santa Clara River. And from what I understand, that generally had no road cage by no means, I guess, in it. I guess it was just a regular road bar piece in it. And he jumped that sucker across the river. Imagine, 300 feet across. Now here is the photographs from the highway nowadays, looking back at the site, again, it's private property, so please respect the landowner. Please respect them and do not trespass. I repeat, please respect the landowners and please do not trespass. I do not condone that by no means. Now, right here what you're seeing is actually the Indian Dunes jump located. Now, dead center of your screen, right where the trees are, that would have been, in 78, you've been seeing the jelly going to fly up in the air right there, all the way across right there. Up to right half of your screen there, that little flat area of like a field, that is where Daisy's River went off the cliff at. To the right of your screen right there, there's two little embankment pieces right there. Is where Daisy's River actually went off the cliff at. On the same cliff side, this little above it, is also where Carter had the jelly on his tail. But the tow truck almost went over the same cliff piece that the river went over. But in that episode you hear, and on the episode you hear, because that was a close one. And when you look out over the hood of the tow truck, like from his view, you see looking down into the riverbed area. Now, if you pause the scene and look at it, that is actually this scene right here. The area right here. Looking down into the Styxs River jump area. Now, as for the picture on the internet that a lot of you people are complaining about and controversy over, about it's not the same jump location where the jelly did the jump over Styxs River, it doesn't look right. Sorry, but it is. If you see, if you look to the right of your screen, you'll see the two rock formation pieces. Within those rock formation pieces, you'll see there's a black line, two little black lines within the rock structure. Those black lines are still there today yet. And with the photograph that was online, that I won't say who posted it, but the guy was actually at a location before the property owned, and I guess he had permission to be on the property. And with the picture he took of the ground being bulldozed level flat, that is actually the real location, and that is actually the real place. And when people says it's not, that it don't look right, the end piece is not there, it is actually the right picture of the right jump location of the Styxs River people. I'm sorry. But I can confirm that that picture, when they say that is location of the Styxs River jump, if people say no it's not because the rocks don't look right, I'm sorry to say it, but I can confirm that is the jump location. And it's right here of the location, even in the picture, if you pause the clip, look at something, you'll see the rock ring, you see the two stripes in it. Those two stripes, those black stripes never change. They're at a 45-degree tilt looking upwards. They never changed. That's the thing that actually pinpoints location. There is another location down the river a little bit that looks like it, but it's not, because those areas are not black lines by no means. It's at one place that does. The thing about the location is, from 1978 people to nowadays, the riverbank actually did change a lot. If you go back a couple of minutes back in the clip, you'll see where there are all kind of markings on the picture. Like I said, that was actually the original location of the car when it launched, and when it landed at, and how far the stunt driver flew that car across that big river. He wasn't supposed to go that far across, he was only supposed to go up and then down in the bulldoze at. That's why it was actually cleared for, but he overshot going too fast, but he wanted to get the shot done for the company. And thank God he did, because we got the big Styxs River jump that made history on the TV series. And everybody loves that jump, including me. You see, the landing of the Charger, if you look at the Styxs River, okay, and if you look at the second jump where Luke did the jump in a series, you see that both cars came down hard on the front passenger side. I repeat, the 1969 Dodge Charger came down slightly tilted on the passenger side. The thing is, when the 611 hit, it wasn't really of that incline altitude to actually bend the car up in the air. If you look at how Luke landed in a later episode, you can see how far the car actually tilted in the front. That was actually what how about north here. And that picture that shows on the internet of the car with the busted up front end, that is that car. Now, for the diorama for the clouds, people always ask, how did PIP get those cloud dust effects? Well, you see, inside of the styrofoam base, I'm gonna put it like this here. That diorama was custom built, a special built with the car so it can actually be taken on and off of the diorama when it was actually transported to more car show places and parades and stuff for people to see it. You see, the foundation of the track inside of the base was actually done with a double clip hookup made out of copper wire and was soldered together. On the bottom of the car had two hooks under it. The hooks would actually hook up to the cotton balls that was actually painted, airbrushed, spray painted as well, making big dust from under the car. Now, when Pepe applied the cotton, the dust trail, the copper had to be camouflaged within the track, inside the base as well. Come up out at two angles to support the momentum of the weight and stuff. So when you set the car on, it wouldn't actually reveal there was nothing there. It looked like it was actually flying in the air. But the track was built at tilt, slightly on the sides, to think what the real car was when it did the jump as well. Now here, if you're looking right here at this, now here is after the track was actually built, put inside the base there. It was actually down, actually pressed down to the base. And now, if you look closely, it looks like the cotton right there underneath the cane member is actually right there. Is maybe where one of the hooks was at. And the thing is, when you take the car to track, it was actually had to give it just a little bit of play. So when you put the car on, it would actually tip us up a little bit. Now here, when you look at this right here, you always wonder what it would look like on the show. You know, if they had, if they had extra footage on the jump itself, but like from different angles, camera shots. The thing is, this here you get the idea of what it would look like if they would have done it nowadays, with different camera angles all around and drones and stuff on there. But they did it back then. So this here is your only chance that you can actually ever get to see the jump and what we're looking at from different camera angles. One of those what ifs. Looking back at the show, now realize how it looked. If they had a camera like right here, looking up the cars, flew up the embankment. It's one of those things where it's actually frozen in time. The moment of the history record jump of its time, when the car actually impelled the embankment and shot itself out into the air, launched itself out into the air. How can I say this? It's one of those moments where only thing you do is go at the jump. Yeah, the car's gonna be, total on impact. But it's one of those moments, where look at this here. It kind of gives you an idea of what it looked like from different angles at the time. That us fans, us viewers, never seen. That's one thing about this diorama what it was actually also built for. So that way, it gives you an idea, how far the car actually flew. Imagine if you look at it right there, if that would probably be a 2 diorama part. Just to get the landing zone on it. These pictures right here is actually nice ones. It gives you an idea. You can actually look at from the car shots as the car up the embankment. Fly over the Santa Clara River, aka the Styxs River. It's almost like it was actually, when you look at this, it's like it was actually frozen in time. You know, like it's like click the pause button, and then get to, you know, walk around. Now the thing is, there was 2 Indian dune jumps on the show, and there's also 2 train jumps done on the show. The funny thing is, the train jumps came in second to the 6 river jump. If I'm right, the train jump was around 280 some feet, almost 290, where the 6 river was actually at 300 feet across. Very close on distance, I might add, for those cars back in those days. I know Gary did the 6 river one. I'm not sure who did the second jump in Indian Dunes with Luke's episode. I know it was Al that did the train jump in Granny Annie over the train, where they busted down one line, the radio line underneath. And I know the stunt guy name was John, that actually jumped the other one in the season 5 episode, which was the Coin Fans episode. He jumped that charger over the train as well in the 5th season. And that was actually pretty good distant jumps, I might add, for a 69 Charger to be airborne. Again, the photograph that was actually on the internet, some people said it was actually taken at Indian Dunes. A lot of people say it was taken at 6 River, and everybody says no, it's not. It's not the same. But the rocks don't look the same. I'm sorry, but the rocks, it's the same place. I can confirm it's the same spot. It's the same location. But the thing is, the landscape, the scenery has changed over the years, folks. The land has actually changed a lot out there. The wood line that we remember from the series is no longer there, really. It's actually very, very different. Again, going back to the diagram here for a second. Now, if you can only just think for a second, you can't go back in time to actually see to get the shots of the jump. The only way you can actually like the jump and actually get to see what it looked like from different angles is, I'm gonna say, right here in this clip here. Looking at how, it's almost like looking at it frozen in time. And instead of being the full scale, it's actually a miniature scale. It's a little diorama based on the big jump itself. That happened in 1978. And thanks to a friend of ours for providing the decals at the time for this diorama to be built. So we actually have that car with their decals on it. A big shout out goes out to him and for his decals that he actually did. They really brought the scale to life and made that generally look more authentic than what the other decals did. The Revo mirror is actually on the car right there, on the gas cap. PIP makes the push bar, the CV antenna, the CV units, and the tire and rims. Is what PIP makes. Right here's a nice shot looking from behind, almost like just looking at the jump itself, taking place from the embankment of how it would look back then. That's something that can't be redone, in a way, so to speak. There's a shot, picture right here, that you won't see on the TV series. Just imagine being a camera guy, or a camera woman, and sitting behind the brush, recording as the stunt driver just launched off the embankment to do the jump. Now, if you look right here, I'm not sure if you can see it now, but you can maybe see up 2 little pieces. That would have been the frame inside the cloud. Again, this photograph is actually reference of the actual road jump shot. A little throwback there for memories. If you all enjoyed this, Please leave a comment down in the comment section, please. Thank you.